then gets forced into the spotlight from a Super Bowl contending team last year. I see pressure building on him, and I see him crumbling. That being said, when I'm looking at Denver, I see an offensive guard from Kansas State that would probably be a good fit for the Broncos, especially since they're going to have, I feel, no QB that will be able to replace Peyton Manning. Cody Whitehair. He came from Kansas State. He started, I'm trying to find his stats. Yes. And I'm not finding anything, but I'm going to go Cody Whitehair because he was a day one starter at guard, and he could also fill in at tackle if needed. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, Whitehair is a player that when you play in Kansas State system and Bill Schneider's system, you're good. They make the most out of that talent, and I think Whitehair over the last couple of years has developed into one of the best offensive linemen in the country. So definitely I agree with you. Bill Schneider knows how to pick talent, and Whitehair is a surefire first-round pick, so I wouldn't be surprised also if the Broncos definitely picked him up as well. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs so far. It's been interesting. And one of the biggest topics also it's been the Clippers. Chris Paul done for the rest of the playoffs, I would say 4 to 6 weeks. Again, that's a long time. There's no way they're going to last that long. Blake Griffin done for the rest of the postseason. Is this a team that should stay for one more year? Or should they sell, and get the most out of their value? We'll talk about that after the break. We have some music here. So here's Running Wild here on the Spicy Sports Show with Sam Cerrone and Tom Crane on Spreaker Radio.
I never did belong. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Don't cry, Mama, don't cry. I'm burning down this town. So if you see me around tonight, kiss me goodbye.
And welcome back to the Spicy Sports Show with Sam Strone and Tom Crane, coming to you live from Tucson, Arizona and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's about 39 after the hour after 5 out in Tucson, so 39 after 8 on the East Coast. NBA playoffs right now, some scores for today. Hornets up on the Heat 29-25, 11:47 in the second quarter. At 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern, you have the Trailblazers and the Clippers. The series is tied at 2 games apiece at Staples Center. Should be an interesting first round. Damian Lillard's been fantastic, 25 points and 6 assists throughout the first 4 games of the series. DeAndre Jordan is essentially the leader of this team right now, but they do have some shooting power, of course, in Jordan Crawford and J.J. Redick. And then finally, the defending champion, Golden State Warriors, have a chance to close out the Houston Rockets tonight. Game is 3-1. Golden State, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on TNT. James Harden, again, 29 points throughout the first 4 games of the series. Draymond Green, the all-around player, 14 points, almost 10 rebounds, and a little over 7.5 assists per game. He can do it all. The NBA playoffs has been interesting thus far. 2 teams have already swept through the first round. San Antonio sweeping Memphis in 4, and Cleveland sweeping Detroit. The rest of these games are at the very least going 6 games, which is at least 5 or 6 games, which is pretty impressive if you look at it. The Raptors and Pacers series has been one of the more entertaining ones. Last night was great. Raptors are up 3-2 in the series. As I mentioned, Heat and Hornets tied at 2 apiece, but Hornets up in Game 5. And the Hawks leading the Celtics 3-2. Game 5 is tomorrow in Boston. You can check that out on TNT. Other games in the West. And the Thunder. They also defeated the Mavericks in 5 games, so they've already moved on to the next round. And, of course, you have the Clippers and Trailblazers, along with the Rockets and Warriors left. So, as I mentioned, let's go to the Clippers. They're a team that many people thought, especially with Steph Curry going down for the next couple of weeks, this is a team that could have competed with the Warriors, but with the injuries to Chris Paul and to Blake Griffin, more than likely, I would say it's for the Trailblazers to lose at this point. Game 5 again is tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern on NBA TV. It's interesting because the Clippers are a team that has always been playing second fiddle to the Lakers, and again, the Lakers have had a terrible season, and it's all Clipper basketball now, but. Again, the injuries and just the fact that they cannot get to the conference finals. They've never been to a Western Conference Finals before. But after next season, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin are done with their contracts. Their contracts run out. Chris Paul is on the back end of a really stellar career, I would say, while Blake Griffin still is in the prime of his career. He still has some time left to make some pretty good money and stay in LA. But with him and then DeAndre Jordan as well, this big three doesn't seem to be working, in my opinion. I think that their depth on the bench is just terrible. They're just plugging in old guys for the veterans minimum, not getting the quality players. And then you look at a team like Portland. They're a team that last offseason lost 4 of 5 starters. You lose Robin Lopez, who's one of the best rebounders in the league. LaMarcus Aldridge, who's a 20-10 guy for Portland for the first 8-9 years of his career. You then lose Nicholas Batum and then Wes Matthews, your starting forward and your shooting guard. You just have Damian Lillard coming back. You think this team is at worst, at very best, is going to get to 30 wins this season. They're a 5 seed in the playoffs and more than likely going to be in the second round. Because what they did was develop McCollum, who was sitting on the bench for years. Then you pick up players in the offseason that balance out your 2 guards. Because in this era's NBA now, it's really about guard play. And then forwards, as long as you're versatile, they're going to be pretty good. If not, you're an afterthought now in this year's NBA. In this era's NBA. You're looking at, because Aldridge, he's good for San Antonio's system now. I think, he's a player that can that can play in the low block and can shoot, but for Portland, he was the guy. And unfortunately for Portland, he could not be the guy. Big guys aren't really the guy anymore. You look at players now like Steph Curry, like a Klay Thompson. Chris Paul is okay. Damian Lillard's been fantastic. McCollum out of nowhere has been great. It's a guard league. And then big guys are just sitting there, trying to get rebounds for their players to keep shooting more. So for me, the big question is, should the Clippers get rid of Chris Paul or Blake Griffin and try to maximize their talent? If you're going to get rid of anybody, you get rid of Chris Paul first. I think this is the year where you have a lot of talent available, and you can try to get some pieces that, similar to Portland, where, hey, I'm not going to get a lot. This is the time where I can get the most for my talent. And I think that for the Clippers, they need to recognize that, because if not, at the end of next season, they could lose both players and start back at square one and just have DeAndre Jordan there. And we know how he cannot shoot free throws for his life, honestly. Tom, what are your thoughts on the Clippers and should they get rid of their players?
I agree. I see it as a difficult situation for the Clippers to decide on who they would want to get rid of. Of course, keep DeAndre Jordan. He was one of the best defensive leaders in the entire NBA. He had 15 rebounds per game. The second person only had 12. And then he had 3.25 blocks per game, and he was number one in that category as well. So I say you keep DeAndre Jordan. But when it comes to Chris Paul, he's on his end of his career. He's basically walking up to a sign right now that says, quit while you're ahead. The Clippers do have Austin Rivers as a backup point guard, so they have a little bit of talent there. But when it comes down to Blake Griffin, that's a difficult decision. Two things. First off, he is injury prone. He's had a difficult season, plagued with injuries, and it seems when he comes back, he's got a psychological issue when it comes to shooting. Now, this season, he did shoot better than he did last season, quite better. But I just see him as a expensive toy. He's just there to put people in the stands so that they can see him dunk. Since he was the dunk champion, and pretty much that's what he's well known for. But that's all he's good for. I see him being traded to a different team. I could see him being traded to the Celtics. I think that he might have a better system there, especially with the college coach who coached Butler's. Trying to remember his name.
Brad Stevens.
Thank you. Brad Stevens, fantastic player or coach, and he can make any young player / semi-old player great. You look at Kelly Olynyk, you look at Jared Sullinger, both big guys, both excellent players now in the NBA, and you can see what he's done to the Celtics team. So I see Chris Paul leaving and Blake Griffin being traded to a team, to any team. I want to see him as a Celtic. I think he would look good in green, especially with his red hair. But I say DeAndre Jordan keep, Blake Griffin trade, Chris Paul, see you later.
Going from LA to Golden State now, again, Steph Curry's going to be